welcome back, you lucky fans, to another episode of NH Unscripted, where we are your 19th Nervous Breakdown. I am your Rolling Stones-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the Hollywood squares-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord, where I absolutely love to sit in the center square, the famous Paul Lynde Square. Yes, sometimes I look more like Charlie Weaver. Never mind, I digress. You know the drill. Sit back on those water beds, light that incense fire up your lava lamps, because we have a barn burner for you today. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM on your transistor radios. I got an 8 transistor because I'm a poor kid, but the rich kid got the 16 transistors. Anyway, 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls in Manchester. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. Yeah, we got one because we're cool, and you know it. Oh, I need to thank my sponsor. You know, let's say in life, you don't want to leave your money to your kids. You want to leave it maybe to your favorite hamster or chicken or, some trust. Maybe you want to leave it to some old guy who gets on the radio periodically. Anyway, you're going to need an attorney, a good attorney. So guess what? ShaheenGordon.com. That is the URL for the law offices of Shaheen and Gordon in Concord, by the way. That's where their headquarters are. I can almost throw a stone from here and hit them, but of course they'd sue me. Anyway, then I'd need a good lawyer, and then I could hire... That's very circuitous. I wonder how... Old man talking here, old man alert. Anyway, ShaheenGordon.com is their URL. 603-614-5560. They do it all. We've had Jim Rosenberg on here. That man can tell some tales. Mother of God, does he have stories? And they all have stuff down there. They're just top of the line attorneys. They do everything: business, corporate, real estate, divorce. I'm sorry if you need it for divorce. I had to bring it up. Immigration, civil rights. Come on. You can go on their website, ShaheenGordon.com. Look it up. Look it up. And I've told you before, write it down, put it on your fridge, put it with your legal papers, because you know what? Everybody should know a good lawyer. Trust me. Personal experience, maybe. Not going to go there. 603-614-5560. Okay, parking that. There are some names that come up in this industry which, when you hear them and they're attached to a project, you stop what you're doing and you pay very close attention to that project, and then you support it. My guest today is Emily Karel. Good morning.
Good morning, Ray. Thanks for having me on.
And that is the voice attached to the name. That is one of those people who, when you see that, you're like, oh, stop. I have to go see this. Emily, I've followed you doing certain things. I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the stuff you've done at the Hatbox. I don't want to call it defunct. They get very upset if I say that. The once thriving Hatbox, and talk to you about some of the projects I saw you in down there. But I know nothing about you personally. So give me a little bit of background, if you would, about your acting career. Did you go to school for it? Some of us haven't, but fire away.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up Seacoast, New Hampshire, and I was in my first play in 8th grade, sort of by accident, actually. I auditioned as kind of a challenge to myself because I've always been very shy, and I got the lead, which was incredible. And then I realized, wow, I'm actually going to have to go on stage in front of people. But it was
theater works like that.
Yes. But it was wonderful. And after that play was over, I just kept at it. I went to Wheaton College in Norton, Mass, studied acting there.
You did?
I did. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep, with David Fox and Stephanie Burlington Daniels.
Don't know them, but thanks for dropping the names.
Great professors. And then from there, I went on to study twice at Shakespeare and Company in Lenox, Massachusetts.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I was very fortunate. I absolutely loved my time there. I did the month-long intensive when I was actually still at college, my winter break senior year. And I loved that so much that I then went on to be part of their conservatory program the year after I graduated college. I actually met my very best friend there. So the playwright Irene Kelleher, whose work I have performed in and produced. So it was a wonderful connection.
Wow, that's a fascinating background. So that explains probably your leaning towards several types of projects and plays.
Yes.
Yes. You don't do a whole lot of comedy, I notice, at least in the stuff I've seen.
I do not. It's a funny thing. I think everybody has their place, and some people are just fabulous comedic artists and were put on this earth to make people laugh. And some people like me, maybe not so much.
I was out at your Instagram page, and so I need to ask you a question.
Yes.
Do you only do projects that involve Wayne Asbury? I'm throwing that out there. I just happen to, be scanning your...
Yes. Well, I do not only do projects that involve
good to know.
However, I will admit that ever since Wayne and I met in 2016, when we both worked on Kapow's Stupid Effing Bird, we have worked together many, many times, and he has been in the majority of the shows that I've produced. He is...
I noticed.
Yes, he is my favorite actor, and my favorite person.
He should now be your favorite chef, right? He's like retired. He's out in the boondocks somewhere serving food to people.
Yes.
He is an incredible talent.
Yes, he is. And I'm not just saying that because he's also the love of my life. We met and forged our friendship through our passion for acting, and I was immediately drawn to him because he is one of the finest, if not the finest actors I have ever worked with. Yeah. Truly.
It is a pleasure. You can tell the dynamic on stage. I mean, it was fantastic. I did want to bring up Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? My God. I have said this several times, and I will die saying it. What an amazing show.
Yes, that was a really fabulous production team. Sometimes you kind of get lightning in a bottle that way. That was the first time I had ever met Alex Picard. She and Wayne, I have to say, just beautiful, beautiful work on that show.
Well, you're humble because the whole cast just, it was one of those shows, again. So the show is not done very often because it's a lot of heavy lifting. Yes. And there's a lot of people who may want to do it but should not get near it. And I hate to say that, but it's just one of those shows that has to have the proper people. And for a lot of folks who don't know in this industry or who aren't familiar with the way things happen in this industry, it is lightning in a bottle when you get a great cast with a great director with a great script. It doesn't happen that often. It's very rare. And that was, all three hit at the same time. I sat there that night and just, the whole show just gets darker and darker and darker as the night goes on. But the characters, all four of you, were stunning. My eyes didn't know where to go most of the time. And it was really just such a thrill to see that show. And it was done at the Hatbox, where it was perfect for it.
Yes, the intimate space
my God.
Perfect for that kind of show, especially given the level of just raw discomfort. It's really special to have an audience come right into that space with a show like that.
Yeah, very well put. I mean, raw is exactly the adjective for that, because we're like 10 feet away at most when somebody's like near the edge of the stage there. And it's very uncomfortable, a play like that, to be an audience member, because you're almost eavesdropping. You're almost a voyeur into this terrible situation that's unfolding in front of your eyes. That was just fantastic. And thank you for that. And I thanked Gary for it too, but that was wonderful. Alex, I had her in here too. Man, oh man, that was stunning. Did you do a one person play at the Hatbox as well?
I'm
I'm pretty sure I saw that too.
I did. I performed Marry Me
Yeah.
by Irene Kelleher, my friend, Irish playwright, one of the most exciting up-and-coming young playwrights in Ireland. Honestly, to this day, that is the piece of work that I am most proud of as an artist. And I had pitched it for the Players' Ring in February of 2020, and then it was accepted into the season, and then the world shut down.
Oh, right.
And we were going back and forth a lot about... Oop, I'll finish that thought.
Oh, she's good. She knows what's happening here. Hang on, folks. You are listening to NH Unscripted, where, we're kind of your suspicious minds. I am your Elvis Presley-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the Taj Mahal-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. My God, it's cavernous in here. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM in Concord. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. Ooh, I feel privileged. Emily Karel is in the house. We will be right back after we pay some bills. Welcome back to NH Unscripted, where you heard it through the grapevine. Yes, I happen to be your Creedence Clearwater Revival-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the honeymooners-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM, and in Manchester for you beautiful, beautiful, beautiful souls, 101.9 FM on your transistor radios. Yeah, we're talking theater, my favorite subject. Emily, how do people find you? I saw you on Instagram. What's going on with your PR stuff here?
Yeah, so Glass Tub Productions is my personal production company. I have been flirting with the idea of becoming a 501c3 nonprofit for a number of years now. I'm still not there, mostly because for now I'm producing when it makes sense, when I find a piece of work that really speaks to me and not on a regular schedule. So for that reason, I have a Glass Dove Facebook page, but I don't have a formal website or anything like that. I've held off until I decide that I want to fall into a more predictable production schedule.
Yeah. We were cut off by the break talking about your Irene Keller.
Marry Me.
Yeah.
Right. So it was accepted into the Rings season, and then the world shut down. And there was a lot of discussion with Margarita Giacobbe there at the Players' Ring about should we move forward, should we not. And we ultimately decided that we would move forward with the project, given that it was a one-woman show, and we could put social distancing guidelines in place. And
Hold on. Social distancing at the Players' Ring would mean like 4 people in the audience because it is smaller than the Hatbox.
It is very small. We had, in order to explain this effectively, I should probably tell you a little something about the show. So the show, written and by Irene Kelleher and performed originally by Irene Kelleher, was based off of the true story of Anne Lovett, a 15-year-old girl who was discovered after giving birth to a baby in the Magdalene Grotto. And she unfortunately wound up passing away shortly thereafter. And there's a lot of speculation about why this may have happened. Irene heard this story when she was around 15, and it has stuck with her ever since. And she wrote the play and began touring it herself. I believe in 2016 or 17 was the original tour. And then in 2018, I came out to visit her in County Cork, and she asked me if I would consider producing and performing in the play in the United States. Now, at the day that she asked me that, Ireland overthrew their referendum on abortion. And at the same time, in the U.S., we were moving in the other direction. And I felt like it was a very important story to tell about what might drive someone to find themselves in that situation. And so going back to the ring, that was a major factor in our decision to move forward with the project. It was a story we felt needed to be heard. Because the entire play takes place in a grotto, we could easily kind of section me off.
Yeah.
So I never leave the grotto during the show. And that gave me plenty of distance between myself and the audience. And then, of course, they had social distancing protocol in place for the audience. I can't remember how many seats had to be in between each audience member, but they were able to do that. Masks, of course, for the audience. And that original run at the ring was actually, for when it happened, it was very, very well attended. My team, fabulous team, director Peter Josephson, Gina Bowker, stage manager, and ran my lights and sound. Tava Young designed the lights. Quentin Stockwell designed the set. And Cormac O'Connor did our sound design. He was the original sound designer for the Irish project as well. So that was very, very special. And Andrew asked me if I wanted to come and tour the show in Concord.
Yeah.
And I actually was at Hatbox twice. And then I was at the Opera House, the Claremont Opera House, for one evening with it. So yes, it's been around. It's a beautiful, powerful show, and my team and I were very proud of it.
Were you able to port the team? Did the team come with you to the Hatbox?
Yes,
you were able to bring them all? Yeah.
Yeah, the only one who didn't was Gina because she had other commitments. But Jimmy Stewart stepped in like a pro and toured with me. So he ran the light and sound. Yeah.
I want to talk to you on a contemporary basis as a fellow professional. I'm just going to say as another actor. Did you have any reservations about being on stage by yourself at any point?
Wow, what a great question. I never thought I would ever do a one-person show. Mm-hmm. In part because, yes, I was very concerned about, can I carry anything like that off?
Right.
And in part because I love working with other actors. In fact, my favorite shows to do are two-handers, two actors.
You and Wayne.
Yes. Funny you should say that. I have a project coming up with him that's a two-hander soon. So.
Oh, he's getting out of the kitchen.
Oh, yeah. I will mention that later. But yes, very, very much. And when Irene originally asked me about marrying me, I agreed immediately because I had read the play, think it's beautiful, and I respect her so much. And it was such an incredible honor. And the story was so important. But yeah, I was very nervous. I was very nervous. And one of the things that makes this play so actor and audience friendly as a one-woman show is that while I'm the only character on stage, I am always talking to, in the instance here, Mary, who is in the Magdalene Grotto, a statue of the Virgin Mary. So I do have a scene partner. Mm-hmm. And that was very helpful. And it also got away from the convention that you can run into with single actor shows where an actor pulls a chair out on the stage and says, "It was a rainy day in June when I was born." I mean, nothing against that, but sometimes that type of show just doesn't speak to me as loudly. And I think it can create distance with the audience. Whereas I think this show really pulls the audience in. It's very, powerful. It's very relatable.
Mm-hmm. I don't like to bring things up too much about myself. I was able to do a play about Truman Capote. True. And I had a very similar experience in that when I was first asked, I jumped right out and said, sure, absolutely, I'll do it. But then as time went on and the weight of the project begins to really settle in on you, and it's not a matter of learning the lines. It's not a matter of blocking and all that, because that's the mechanics of it. It's the weight of, can I translate this properly to people and captivate them? And I'm out there by myself. Did you have any of those reservations at all? Were you like, before you did, not the second time, but I was a wreck show week.
I did until I started rehearsing. I trusted the material. Some of it, honestly, is the writing is just so incredible. There's not a line in there that you look at and think, I don't know how a real person would deliver this. It's so natural. It's such a well-written piece of theater. So that's over half the battle there. But the other thing was I just had the best team working with me on that. Q, Tava, Cormac, Gina, and of course, Peter. I just felt like with those artists around me, I felt so supported. And the minute I started working with them, I knew this is going to be great.
So some of the intangibles are, though, you have no idea how the audience is going to accept it or react to it. That's huge for an actor because you're floating out there.
Yep.
And it's you. And if that show doesn't work, it's on you. Oh, man, already? Oh, Emily, you're killing me here. The time's flying. All right, hang on. You are listening to NH Unscripted, where you can't always get what you want. I am your Rolling Stones-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the YMCA-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. My gosh, I can smell the chlorine from the pool all the way over here. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM in Concord. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. Emily Karel and I, we're chatting the big stuff. We'll be right back. Welcome back to NH Unscripted, where you really got a hold on me. I am your Smokey Robinson-like host, Ray Dudley. Happy to be out of bed. We are coming to you from the dating game-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. Yes, we are 1450 AM, 103.9 FM. That's on your Sony Walkmans. You know what I'm talking about. 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls in Manchester. Emily and I, we're chatting business. We're getting into the weeds here. Emily, the thing, we were talking about being on stage by yourself. And if a project fails, there's nobody out there to blame but you. I mean, I that almost crushed me when we did True. I got to a point where during dress rehearsal, one of them, I forgot where I was in the script, and of course there's nobody but me. I can't call for. There's nobody there. We were at the Hatbox, and so I told Matt McGonigal, who was producing the play, I need a line, and so he did it. And to be honest with you, when we took a break at the end, I just wept. I went back in the dressing room, and I wept, and I said, "I screwed us. I'm Matt. I'm about to kill us here. I can't go on like this. I don't know what we're going to do here because I can't have that happen during the show." And I literally was in tears. The weight now of everything, and getting lost on stage and not knowing where I was huge. And he was gracious, and he said, "I'm not worried, you're Ray Dudley." And I said, "Okay, well, I appreciate that." But so that is, I probably aged 10 years that night, but people don't know those kinds of things happen. You are the show at some point. And tagging into that, and I'm sorry for diverting, and this show is not about me. I read also on your Instagram page where when you were doing Macbeth, with Wayne, you wrote some interesting notes on there about Lady Macbeth.
Ah, yes, my favorite character of all time. Mm-hmm.
Tell me about not just you were adamant about she needed to be real and not like this just caricature of a Shakespearean person. Why was that important to you? And you could have just done it, but you had this. You wanted to go to this different level. Why was that important?
All right, I'm so glad you asked. I love talking about Lady Macbeth. So, I have loved Macbeth, and in particular Lady Macbeth, since I was a teenager. And I love to study Shakespearean text. And one of the things that I learned at Shakespeare and Company was really how to pay very close attention to what the text is telling you and what is in the text, and block out some of the noise about what your preconceived notions are of the character. And what I will tell you is, in terms of Lady Macbeth, what is in the text is not what most people play. What you get for Lady Macbeth often is a super ambitious, I want to be queen.
Yep.
There have been very successful portrayals in that direction. But that's not what's in the text. Shakespearean soliloquies are the character's time to let the audience in on their inner monologue. And Lady Macbeth's first soliloquy, after she reads the letter where Macbeth says he's met the witches and they told him he was going to be king, she says, she says, this is something Macbeth deserves. She says, I am worried he won't take this incredible opportunity that is being offered to him. She says, I am going to have to help, and in order to do that, I am going to have to call upon all of the powers that be, because it is not in my nature to be violent. She never says, I want to be the queen. Not once. That changes the entire trajectory of her character arc. The other piece that I think offers a great clue into Lady Macbeth's psychology is that there is a mention that they had lost at least one child. And what tends to happen is that people zone in on the fact that she says, I would, if I had made this promise to kill the king, I would sacrifice our child to do so. And they think, oh, she's a baby killer. That's something that people use as an argument for her being basically heartless, soulless. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the context of the scene around that, it's pretty clear from the text that what she's actually doing is taking this incredible hurt and trauma that they have both been living under and saying, this is our last shot, and I believe in this so much that I would even make this sacrifice. It's a very different story than what most people want to tell. I also look at the sleepwalking scene where she relives the murder briefly, but the rest of the sleepwalking scene, she just keeps going back over how her husband has deteriorated and how she has lost him. That's what drives her crazy. This is a grieving parent. The Macbeths are grieving parents who are deeply, deeply in love with each other. The language they use to each other. He calls her my dearest partner of greatness. He calls her my dearest Chuck. These terms of endearment that anyone who studies Shakespeare knows, very rare. Very rare. And the tragedy of Macbeth is that this love breaks apart while they are trying everything they can to save it by building a tower of power around themselves. All of this informs my portrayal of Lady Macbeth. I don't believe that there's anything to support her being a wicked, ambitious woman who doesn't care. Why wouldn't she say that? Because that would be the Shakespearean convention. And why would she go crazy with guilt? There's no support for it. I will say I've played the role twice. I played it in college, and I played it in April 2024, and actually also in the fall of 2023, we toured a version of that project for a year. And both times I've played it, I have gotten pushback. I've gotten
From who?
I've gotten some audience members who have come up to me and wanted the more traditional portrayal. I've gotten some comments from critics as well who were really looking for that portrayal. And I expect that because it is different. But my project is that I want to play Lady M once in every decade of my life up until probably around my 70s. And I just want to go further into her, and I expect to continue to get pushback.
Oh, girl, you have opened so many doors here. I don't even know where to begin. First of all, if you are a new actor listening to this, or you're somebody who is trying to understand acting, rewind this MP3 because you just heard a masterclass in true character dissection. Most people get involved in Shakespeare and are very lucky just to be able to memorize it. Never mind, tear it apart, find out really what that character is about. It takes effort. It takes a desire to actually create a real person. A real person. Kudos to you. My hat is off to you. When I read what you said about that on your Instagram page, I thought, this is somebody who understands portrayal, who understands the weight of having to present a character on stage. We so many times see people go through the motion. That's why those critics were wrong. That's why those people, they get stuck in that stereotype. Shame on them. Shame on them. You did an incredible job. I didn't say it, but as you peeled it apart, I could hear in your voice and in the inflection your heart's desire to do this woman right. I'm almost in tears now. All right, thank God we're going to a break. Hang on. How did she do this to me? You are listening to NH Unscripted. Yeah, baby, we are your Ring of Fire. I am your Johnny Cash-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from deep within the bunkers of the WKXL studios in Concord, 1450 AM, 103.9 FM, Concord, 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls in Manchester. Ooh, Emily's a treasure. I knew we had some gold here. We'll be right back. Welcome back to NH Unscripted. I'm telling you, you are a lucky listener today. We are kind of your House of the Rising Sun, aren't we? Yeah, we are in a way. I am your animals-like host, Ray Dudley. So blessed to be out of bed today. We are coming to you from the not-so-overly ostentatious digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL where you can go out there. There's a button where you can listen to this show live. Comes to you every Wednesday and Friday mornings at 9 a.m., by the way, as if you didn't know that. But there's a lot of other things happening out there. There are archives of this show. I guess there's other shows happening here. I just in my own world, but I happen to know for a fact, I guess, that there are other things taking place, and you can go out there and listen to them as well. Yeah, treasure chest out there of things happening. I don't even know where to begin this next segment. Emily opened up a door here that I don't think many people ever go through. I wish you could have heard the off-air stories that we were telling. I think, let's rewind a little bit. I made some comments about people being fortunate to just kind of memorize Shakespeare, and they feel like they've conquered the world just doing that. But the fact that they leave it kind of at that point means that we as audience members sit there and go, "What? What did they just say? I don't get what that character is doing." All the time, it really happens all the time, and it's an injustice to Shakespeare and in those performances. You do a rare thing. You have done a rare thing, in that it's your heart's desire to, right or wrongly, to anybody else, doesn't matter. Your desire is to create or portray this character as a real person. And that means you had to dig, you had to look at each word in that sentence. Many of us would think maybe it's a throwaway word or a toss-away word, but it meant something to that woman. And you go in and you discover these nuggets, and then you refine them, you put them out there for the audience to see this glorious revelation that many of them didn't even know really exists. Kudos to you. I mean that.
Thank you. Thank you, Ray.
I had a similar, I don't mean to do this. When we did True, we did True based off of, it was kind of an homage that it was written. It was kind of going to be this story, a very happy story about Truman Capote, and that's the way it had been done on Broadway. But when we picked up the script, and then we said, okay, we need to go look at this man's life, his real life, and we did the background stories, it was a total different story. Matter of fact, by the time we were done, True became a much darker version than what people were expecting. And we had friends who had seen it in Boston and came to see it, and they said to us after the show, was this a different script? Because this is a totally different show than what we saw in Boston. And it was for the same reason. Truman Capote was a real person. Lady Macbeth maybe was not, I don't know. But you created a real person. You took something that was just, anybody would have just done a walkthrough with it, and maybe gotten kudos for the very surface acting that they would have done. But you stripped it down and then rebuilt it.
Yeah, I think theater is about taking risks.
Yes.
And yes, while it is a risk just to put yourself on stage in front of people, it's also about taking risks with portraying real people. No matter what script you're working with, it's imperative on us as theater artists to make these people real people. And
it is, yes. Pause there for a second. That's a deep statement. It's the essence of acting. And I think so many times they get caught. I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry for that.
That's okay.
But,
don't worry.
It can be colored by, we're going to contemporize it, and put it in this setting. But they still don't understand the story itself or the characters involved. They think, well, we'll just change the way they dress and it's going to be a different story.
Exactly. There has to be a reason behind every choice that makes sense.
Choice.
Whether you're on the acting side or the design side, the directing side. But yeah, we have to tell real stories with real people, and that means taking its own kind of risk. You might be in a role that the audience isn't going to like you. They are not going to like the character that they see in front of them. Or you might, as with Lady Macbeth, be faced with playing a role that has a long history of being portrayed in a very specific way and has been successfully portrayed in that way. And then it is up to you as the artist to look at that character, that script, as though it is the first time that character has ever been portrayed, and to find that character for yourself. And that's an enormous risk to take, but it's our job.
Yeah. When you were performing with Wayne in that, did you both have those discussions? Were you both deeply involved in this? How do I ask this question? I'm just going to leave that right there. That's the question. Go ahead and answer.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. Wayne and I had So this process where we created this production of Macbeth was Andrew Cottespotty and Teddy Speck. Teddy runs Theatre in the Open, and Andrew Cottespotty has his own Shakespeare company called Vicious Mole Theatre Collective. And we collaborated on this. And the way that we raised this show was we did a quick raise, which was based off of Shakespearean actors' original practice. We raised the show in a week. We had a week of rehearsal, and then we put on our fall production.
What?
Yep, we toured the fall, and then we had a week of tech, and then we did the spring with the kind of added trimmings of lights and costumes. So Wayne and I got together to work on our scenes as the Macbeths ahead of that process to build a foundation as characters, as these people together. And yes, this was a huge part of what we worked on. We tried so many different things. We had many, many discussions about how our Macbeth and Lady Macbeth related. We texted back and forth about what their past was, how they came to be married, and what their relationship had been, and then what it became after the death of their child, and So yes, we had to lay all of that kind of table work, character development before we got in there and actually started, putting it together with the ensemble, and of course looking at the meter and all of that. That foundation has to be there so that they can be real people.
Yes. Folks, I'm telling you, this is masterclass stuff. This is unbelievable. To have somebody bare their soul about the process here is just incredible. I don't think that everybody who does theater, I mean, if you're playing a tree, no one cares about whether you were an acorn at one point and then grew up to be an oak tree or whatever, But the characters, the main characters at least, should understand where they come from, what's happening here. That is just powerful. Are there projects on your plate yet to come that you're? Because I know we could spend all day there, and I would love to park in that area. But there must be things on your heart that are yet to be done.
Yes, I have 2 projects coming up. One I can speak about in detail, and one has to be a little shrouded in mystery for the time being.
Cliffhanger.
The one that I can speak about in May of this year, so we open on May the 23rd and we run through June the 1st. Wayne and I will be performing in Irene Kelleher's play A Safe Passage, 2-person psychological thriller. The entire play takes place in a lighthouse. This play will go up at the Star Theatre in Kittery, and it runs Fridays at 7:30, Saturdays at 2 p.m. and 7:30, and Sundays at 2 for those 2 weekends. Great story. New Year's Eve, 1979, a lighthouse keeper named Christie is facing possibly the end of his life, trying to make a decision. A storm kicks up. He looks out the window of his lighthouse and he sees a young woman on the rocks in the storm, and he brings her inside, and things are not what they seem. Let's put it that way. Psychological thriller.
I have to go all the way to Kittery to see this?
Yeah,
I'm
afraid. I'm afraid it's going to be.
You're killing me here.
Wayne and I reserve the right to maybe do it again. This is the original version of the play that Irene wrote. She has since basically rewritten the play and published that version, but she, being the wonderful person she is, gave me. Oh,
do you believe that? What
we met it.
Wayne, do it in your restaurant, dinner theater, my friend. Oh my God. Dang it. I can't believe this show's over so fast. You are listening to NH Unscripted, where you have been blinded by the light. I am your Manfred Man-like host, Ray Dudley. Gosh, what a day. I'm stunned. We are coming to you from 1450 AM, 103.9 FM in Concord, 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls in Manchester. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. Emily Karel has been in the house. I'm telling you, rewind this. It is master. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Ray.
Masterclass. My God.